I'm Helen Rankin. I'm now the retired curator of Carrickfergus Museum. During 2007, we celebrated the centenary of the birth of Louis McNeice. Louis was actually born in Belfast in Brookhill Avenue off the Cliftonville Road, but as a baby he was brought down to Carrickfergus when his father was appointed in 1908-1909 as rector of the parish of St Nicholas, Carrickfergus. Louis has an elder sister, Elizabeth, and a middle brother, Willie, who was a Down syndrome child. Louis was the third child, and unfortunately his mother was very ill after his birth and began to suffer from acute depression, and it wasn't too long afterwards that her health continued to decline. She didn't like Carrickfergus very much. Both she and her husband came from the west of Ireland, and they were used to the very gentle, quiet, rural life. Carrickfergus, for them, and Belfast in particular, was somewhat alien to them. Louis's mother, Lily Clisholm, Mrs MacNeice I, really didn't settle to Belfast, and she certainly didn't settle to Carrickfergus because there had been great opposition to her husband getting the job, because the people in Carrickfergus of the parish wanted the curate to get the job, but he wasn't given the job. The bishop appointed MacNeice, and there was a great deal of resentment and sort of gave him a fairly rough time, but he talked them round. There's one wonderful story about him walking up West Street and people throwing their night pots over him as he walked up the street. But he survived all that. If you come to Carrickfergus, do try and get into the church, St Nicholas's parish. It's open on a Saturday afternoon in the summertime. But if you look at the east end of the church, where the big east window is, if you look to the left of it, you will see one of the sculpted heads actually on the stonework. And the first one you come to is actually Bishop MacNeice. His head is actually carved onto the church, which is a nice gesture. The poem Carrickfergus, which she wrote in 1937, I think it very much tells the story of the them and us. The children in the rectory were not really allowed to mix with the common hoi polloi in the town, and they were kept very much to themselves. But he was very much a witness to what was going on in the town. And I have to say my favourite line is when he's looking out towards Bangor. He calls it looking under the drowning aura of a peacock moon, which is beautiful. When you look across the loch at night with the moon shining on it, it is very beautiful. He did catch the mood of it, very much so. We're now in the community archive in Carrickfergus Museum. There is a small exhibition of material that was used in the bid exhibition that we had in 2007. It has various photographs of Louis at various stages of his development. Also a very nice photograph of him on the rugby team. Poetry and rugby obviously do go together. There are also a couple of certificates that he won for various prizes while he was at Marlborough School. Also a photograph of him at Oxford with his contemporaries. He was very friendly with Weston Auden, W.H. Auden. Louis had two children. The first child, Daniel, and Louis was very much involved in bringing up Dan until his wife Mary Ezra, who he married while he was still at Oxford, walked off. Dan very kindly has given these photographs, etc., to the Carrickfergus Museum, as he felt it had such a Carrickfergus connection. So we have photographs and we have some of the letters. We also have Louis's christening mug and several other pieces of memorabilia, which we're very grateful for having here in Carrickfergus Museum. During the time we were working on the exhibition, John Sherlock from White Abbey, who is a sculptor, was working on producing a head of Louis McNeice, and we were able to have the head on loan. Fortunately, we still have it with us. I did speak to a lady, Mary Wimbush's sister. Mary Wimbush was the last of Louis's ladies. He spent the last few years of his life living on and off with Mary Wimbush, and his sister said that he always looked very sad, and I think it's because of this long face. It's not that he really was sad, he just had this sort of long face, although she said he was extremely witty and very engaging character. During my time as museum curator, I collected the works of Louis McNeice, and I think we have most of them. There's only the odd one or two that we don't have. I bought first editions of his work, so we do have as complete a collection of his published works as we can. He's not perhaps the easiest man to read, but his poetry is very engaging. As well as his poetry, he did a lot of plays for the BBC radio, so a very interesting output of material that he was very much involved in setting up the BBC here in Belfast during his time here. And he also worked for the Arts Council and went to different places, including Athens, to work. So he travelled widely, so he had a lot of images to put into his work. Louis McNeice is actually buried in Carrickfergus churchyard in County Down, in a beautiful situation, standing on the top of a hill overlooking the rolling acres of County Down. If you go down to the front of the church, you will see the gravestone sits out. It's granite. It has Mrs. Chisholm's father. He's in there first. Then Mrs. McNeice, Lily Chisholm, she's in there, and Louis himself is buried there. So the three of them are all together in this one graveyard. Carrickfergus Museum and Civic Centre. You come into the museum, which is on your left, and the community archive on your right. The museum is open 7 days a week from 10 o'clock in the morning till 5 or 6 in the summertime, and you'll be very welcome, and you'll be pleased to know that it's free of charge. The phone number for the council is 028 9335 8000. The website is carrickfergus.org.